Good afternoon. That's a little sleepy. President Rector, dear trustees, faculty, guests, friends, and beloved students. It is indeed an honor to be with you and to share on this very auspicious occasion. I come from a far country called Washington, D.C. And I belong to you, those of you who claim United Methodism. And there is a home there for you called the United Methodist Building. And I hope that you will not be a stranger, but that you will come and see. It is important for me to have this privilege to be here with you on this occasion. I like being with the friends of Methodists because of all the great work that we do. The text today comes from Genesis 12, verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country." This text is pivotal in salvation history. Go from your country. I could take this sermon in a lot of directions, and I was tempted to talk about immigration, but that will not be the focus today, even though it's all about moving around. At the age of 75, Killian MacDonald, a theologian, scholar of Catholic decrees, papal encyclicals, episcopal pronouncements, and a monk at St. John's Abbey, decided he would become a poet. He lives a monastic life in Collegeville and decided he wanted to devote the rest of his life to writing poetry. In his little collection of poems, Lord, Swift you are not, he has this poem. It goes like this. Talk about imperious without, may I presume, no previous contact, no letter of introduction. This unknown God issues edicts. This is not a conversation. Am I a nobody to receive decrees from one whose name I do not know? I have worshipped my own God. To you I have addressed no prayers, but quick, like sudden fire in the desert, I hear, go. At 75, am I supposed to scuttle my life and place my arthritic bones upon the road to some mumbled nowhere? Let me get this straight. I will be brief. I summarize. In 10 generations since the flood, you have spoken to no one. And now, like thunder on a clear day, you give commands. Pull up my tent, desert the graves of my ancestors, leave Haran for a country you do not name, there to be a stranger. This gathering at the beginning of this year is about a journey, much like that journey of Abraham and Sarah. It is a journey that lies ahead. From the Torah, the interpretation is leave your country, Abraham and Sarah, and leave the comforts of your home to go and repair yourselves and the world. The call today is to an unknown and unnamed world. At times, you will feel like a stranger in an unfamiliar land. I offer a few thoughts gleaned from a whole lot of things: a life in ministry, a pastor in the South, reading as often as I can, listening to as much music as I can, being a mom, living, and a little book that I carry along with me sometimes called The Art of Pilgrimage. For you, there will be sights, S-I-T-E-S, and there will be sightings. You will be in libraries and spend a lot of time in front of your computer, and hopefully you will read many books. And you will be in classrooms with your professors. You will be in seminar discussions with people who are very different from you. You will be in contextual education sites. Some of you will serve parishes, and some of you will be in graduate programs. And these are all sites, S-I-T-E-S. They are places. And you will be tempted to value the site by the affinity that you have for it, the books that you like to read, the research that you enjoy, your interactions with your faculty, who you like the most, and all of these things will give you great joy. The settings and the interactions are important, but without the sightings, S-I-G-H-T-I-N-G-S, what you see and hear, the sights don't really matter too much. The first question on this journey is, what will be your sightings? What do you see? What will be your learnings? What will you really let yourself hear? What do you see in the questions? What new teachings and ideas and insights and analysis will guide you? Your categories and labels and stereotypes should be set aside. Your peers and administrators and faculty members are far more than the labels you or they apply. They are more than liberal or conservative, orthodox or moderate, and you know how the list goes on. What new insights do they offer you? As you traverse your way to class, and I'm sure some days will be very snowy, but as you're en route or you're placed in your ministry setting, what will you really see along the way? Will you see the children living in poverty right down the street, the lonely widows and widowers, the single moms that desperately need a break, unimaginable poverty, people suffering with addiction, young men with no hope who are bound for prison in a system that is horribly broken and greedy and remarkably uncommitted to restorative justice. Your journey in theological education as well as in ministry is not as much about the place as about what you see. And then second, to what will you be a witness? On this journey, you can go many places and see very little. There was a story once in the Irish Times about a man from Connemara after he was arrested for a car accident. He said there were plenty of onlookers, but no witnesses. You will be challenged with life-changing thinking and life-changing experiences. I remember the first time that I read Paul Tillich. I was amazed that there was a theologian that wrote about sin as separation from God. Growing up in church, I thought that sin had to do with sex and smoking and dancing. As a very young person, working my way through my own identity, reading Paul Tillich's sermon, "You Are Accepted," was life-changing for me. Upon reading that sermon, which led to more Tillich, and then process theology, and then James Cone, and Paulo Freire, and liberation theology, and ethics, and Don Shriver, and Mary Daly, my life changed as I moved from being an onlooker, standing outside, to a witness of theologies that would change my life. You will study and read for these 2 or 3 years with uncertainty, long nights, a weary body, and not nearly enough clarity to suit you. And if you are a student pastor, you will touch many people and you will miss a lot. You will not always hear underneath what someone is trying to tell you. You will have to listen with your third ear because it is either too painful for them to speak or they're too afraid to share their pain. And you know, you will want to give in to your ambition, and you will want more than this little tiny parish in nowhere, and you will want to please everybody. And you will have to decide whether to be an onlooker or a witness to the sufferings of the world. You will have to hold a lot of pain and sorrow if you are to become a witness to their lives. And then on this journey, the sacred will be there, but you will have to be watchful. You will be tempted to allow the insignificant to become significant. You will be tempted to let the temporal have priority over the sacred. I would just remind you that the word temporal comes from the word time and temple. You will worry about the church building, and you will forget sometimes about the people. For Abraham, this journey was about the future, and it was about the dignity and welfare of all humankind. You will be tempted to be drawn into small worlds and to forget to keep an eye out for the whole world. You will know and learn about those children on the border, or those young men and women on the south side of Chicago, and those who are trafficked, but you will forget or not have time to think about the systems that create those injustices. You will need to cast your sights both to a global world as well as to a local community. And if you neglect either, the people and the community will suffer. The brokenness of people is tied to a larger world of hurt and dysfunction. When someone cannot get health care, she needs you to advocate for her. And we carry all the burdens of HIV/AIDS and race relations and immigration and peace building and economic and climate justice. It is a burden. But we must all direct our relationships and our attention to those who are in need, and I want to say a special word about those who live in poverty. Almost half of the world, which is over 3 billion people, live on less than $2.50 a day. and at least 80% of humanity lives on less than $10 a day. And more than 1 billion children live in poverty. And our founder, John Wesley, said, our task is to get to know them. Our job is not to just look from afar, but to be in relationship. The root causes of poverty have to be addressed in this country and in countries around the world. And mission is important, but it is not enough. Soup kitchens are important and keep people from starving, but they do not alleviate the causes of hunger. The causes and the stigma of poverty call out to us. And one of our brothers in the faith, the Bishop of Rome, Pope Francis, says, "Let us go forth to offer everyone the life of Jesus Christ. I prefer a church who is bruised and hurting and dirty because it has been out in the streets rather than a church which is unhealthy from being confined and clinging to its own security. I do not want a church concerned with being at the center, which then ends being caught up in a world of obsessions and procedures. More than the fear of going astray, my hope is that we will be moved by the fear of remaining shut up within structures which give us a false sense of security, within rules which make us harsh judges, within habits which make us feel safe. While at our door, people are starving, and Jesus does not tire of saying, "Give them something to eat." Understanding and finding joy in the global and the local is our work. The sacred will be there, so be watchful. Become a witness to all that is sacred. And now I want to say a word specifically about theological education. Right now, your job is to be formed by theological education. If you attend to your education integrating learning and faith, prayer and contemplation, love and justice, this will be a journey that will be fulfilling. If you are here to be credentialed, this journey will be frustrating, and it will be unsatisfying. The word student means eager and zealous. It means hungry. It means you want to take it in. Your life as a student is not to become credentialed. It doesn't really matter what happens at the end of these 2 or 3 years. This world does not need one more credentialed person. This world needs people who have an education, who use their gifts and care for all of God's creation. And with this education, you have a profound, which means deep and bottom, a profound responsibility for taking in as much as you can and contributing as much as you can. This gift, although it is expensive, and I understand that, but this gift of education is so that you can contribute in relation to what you have been given. Most people in the world have a deep desire for education, and they cannot afford it. Resist cynicism and the temptation to complain, but rather contemplate all that you are learning. do not squander this precious education. You are being set apart for more responsibility for the work of love and the work of justice. You are not engaged on this journey because you are special. You are on this journey because there is a lot to see with eyes that are new, and you have something to contribute to the special work of love and justice. So now, back to the poem on Abraham. Here is the last of it. God of the wilderness, from 2 desiccated lumps, from 2 parched prunes, you promise all the peoples of the earth will be blessed in me. You come late, Lord, very late, but my camels leave in the morning. Blessings on you, and go on your way. Amen.